Hi there team. So I just wanted to talk quickly about some of the exam practice questions. So hopefully you've gone okay with some of the early ones, but just having a look at a couple of them, I just want to reiterate the need to sometimes redraw the graph. So taking the information and just simply uncrossing some of those edges. So particularly question 16, to determine the number of faces you're going to have to redraw that graph. Again, when you're taking a map and drawing it into a graph, just be sure that you are including all of the ways to get from one vertex to another or one town from another. Just those little tips and tricks that might be where you're falling down. So just want to have a look at question 17 because it's asking for some more meaning-based information. So we've got this question here for 17 and it's just asking, so in a competition, so members are working together. We've got 4 members, which are listed here. So in one of the challenges, only the 4 of the members, they're only allowed to communicate with the people indicated here. So what it's saying is that Christy can only communicate with Lynn, Lynn can only communicate with Mike, and Mike can only communicate with Neil, and Neil with Mike, and Mike with Lynn, and Lynn with Christy. So they've taken this graph and they've turned it into an adjacency matrix here. So as you can see across the top, we've got our columns labelled KLMN and KLMN. And all they've done again is just transfer this information into the matrix. So if we go Christy, she can only talk to Lynn, which is why I've got a 1 here. Lynn can talk to both Christy and also Mike. So we'll get to this here. And so on and so forth. So Mike can talk to both Lynn and Neil, and Neil can only talk to Mike. Okay, so what do the zeros mean in the adjacency matrix? What do they actually show? So what it is it shows that, so it's almost a placeholder, I guess. So it's the number of ways that Neil could talk to Christy. And of course we have to remember that he's not allowed to by the drawing. And again here, if we jump to a different 0 in the matrix, Christy can't talk to Neil. So there's a 0. So that's what those zeros are actually representing, that there's no line of communication directly between Christy and Neil. So now we've got these 2 values in here of F and G. So they've been designated the labels F and G, but they do actually hold values. So because we can see that there's no multiple ways, so it's either going to be a 0 or a 1, because there's not 2 edges connecting Neil and Mike, or Mike and Lynn, for instance. So for F, what it's asking is the number of ways that Lynn can talk to Mike. So we've got Lynn up here and Mike here, and so of course there is 1. They are allowed to talk to one another. So F is going to be equal to 1. So now this G, what is that talking about? So again, we're looking at Lynn and we're looking at whether she can talk directly to Neil. Now there is no edge connecting these 2. There's no direct line of communication. So G is going to be equal to a 0 because there is no edge joining the L and the N directly. So those are our 2 values there. Alright, I just want to jump down now to question 18. If you've gone fine with these and you're perfectly happy with them, don't worry about watching these videos. It's just if you've had any troubles and you just want a bit of an explanation about where you might have gone off track. So we've got the city of Robbville. So it's got the 5 suburbs, which are shown here, and they're A to E. So there's also a lake in there, which is this blue part. So they've constructed the adjacency matrix here for it. Now, we've got this final row here, row E, and every value is a 0. So it's asking why that might be. The easiest way to explain it is that if we redrew this as a graph, E would be an isolated vertex, because as you can see with E, there's actually no way to get to E or from E to any of the other suburbs. So it might look like you can get to D, but because there's no bridges, they don't connect, they don't join, there's actually no ways that you can get there. So it's not only the final row, but it's actually the final column as well that is represented by zeros, and that's why it's the lake, pretty much. That is an isolated vertex. So it's got here, so it's got a network diagram, and the vertices are all represented there, and the edges represent land borders between the suburbs, so A and C. So as you can see, it's that connection there. As well, we've got AB. I'm just going to swap colours. So AB is this part here. And then we've also got AD here, again represented here. So those are those 3 edges that give a degree 3.